Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Achilles Topas. I work for SKAI Media Group. And I'd better move here. And I'm sure that all of you know the gentleman sitting next to me. He is, of course, Aris Xenofos, who is the chairman of the board of directors of ΤΑΙΠΕΔ, which is, of course, a Greek acronym for the Hellenic Republic Asset Development Fund. Over the next 15 minutes or so, hopefully, we will hold a lively and a fruitful discussion about the privatization program and the role that energy companies play in it. And as time is very much of the essence, I would like to start straight away, Mr. Xenofos, and ask you to offer us a quick overview of how the privatization program in terms of energy is shaping up. And then we will move to some more specific questions.
Well, thank you, Achilles. Well, let me start by saying that 2018 for the fund has been a rather challenging year, a very demanding year. I have to confess that after a very tedious and laborious effort, we managed to deliver upon the commitments that we have taken. All the preconditions with regards to the privatization program have been fulfilled. Approvals have been received. Contractual legal contracts have been signed. So I'm happy to say that at least as far as the 2 billion budget set for 2018 has been reached. And also allow me to take the opportunity and underline the fact that for the first time, the fund has received international recognition from three very well reputable international financial magazines, namely the Investor, the International Finance, and the European, identifying the fund as being the most transparent and the best global FDI program of the year. Now, within that context, the energy sector has played a very crucial role. I would say from the very beginning that most probably 2019 will be the year as far as the energy is concerned. But coming back to 2018, we have completed a very high-profile transactions, namely the sale of 66% of Vespa, which has been really important, not only because the fact that we have managed to receive pretty much 40% more than the initial attempt back in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. So this time around, 580 million versus 400 million at that time. But most importantly, three very reputable European companies, namely Snam, Inagas, and Fluxys, they have expressed their strong interest to the asset, and they have acquired the 66%, which is a recognition that not only Greece is turning to become an energy hub, but also, you know, the strong vote of confidence from the international market to Greece.
Well, I actually forgot to mention that 2018 has been a very good year for the fund. As for the first time, it managed to achieve its goals in terms of revenue, which is really important. Excuse me. Now, I would like to move on to one of the ongoing tenders in the energy sector, which is none other than the sale of 50.1% of the Hellenic Petroleum Group. I know there are restrictions in what you can tell us, given that the procedure is ongoing, but could you offer us a time scale of when you think that the tender will come to an end?
Well, let me first say that we had a very good development during the last couple of weeks, in the sense that the initial consortia have actually been enhanced with new parties joining the initial parties, namely we have one consortium on one hand with Glencore and Carlyle, and on the other hand we have Vitol and Sonatrach. So pretty much, again, very well experienced with a global presence, with billions of dollars turnover, with a lot of experience both on the upstream, downstream, on marketing, on transactions. So we did manage to provide some momentum and traction on the tender. And the way we stand now, our plans is for, I would say, the second week of March to be able to receive the binding offer from either two or both of the consortia. I have to say, though, that it's a rather challenging transaction itself. It's not because of the size. It's pretty much over 1 billion transaction. I can say that because you can understand that we are referring to a listed company with 2.2 billion market cap, so you can have a hint of where we stand. But still, we want to be optimistic that at the end of the day, we're going to receive a good price.
And the plan is very much to, you aim to complete this procedure within 2019, from what I gather.
Well, that's the effort. I think one needs to underline, which is usually not the case because the public does not have the luxury of and the knowledge of a number of steps that need to be satisfied prior to the financial completions. Usually, once we receive the offer, we have to go through a process of approvals, not only locally but internationally. I could state, for example, the approval from the competition authorities, from energy supervisory committees, from the Court of Auditors. So there's a stream of steps and actions that need to be satisfied prior to the financial conclusion. But I think if you look back on 2018 and our track record, we're trying to do everything we can to be able to deliver upon the commitments.
Well, now, what about the Public Gas Corporation? I think that's the next major project that you plan to deal with. And it won't be an easy task. The previous tender didn't go very well. No one showed up. Prior to getting the tender to start, legislation has to be tabled which separates the operational part from the commercial part of the company. When do you think that the government will pass this legislation?
Well, at first, you are absolutely right. The way we have structured the privatization of DEPA will be twofold. We have to break the company into two different entities, one which relates to the commercial side, the other one relates to the infrastructure. I don't really want to preempt the intention of the ministry, but my understanding is that there is a law drafted already. It is in consultation, so would expect probably, and this just a hint, that by the end of February, the government will manage somehow to pass it through the parliament. Once this is done, we have a commitment within the context of the supplementary MOU between the Hellenic Republic and the institutions to go forward with the tendering of DEPA. And
how long do you think it will take you before you start the tender after the law has been passed?
About a month. This is the commitment that we have. So for us, we already taking the initiatives to be prepared to that respect. Again, as we understand, and judging from the assets that we did tender in the recent past, it's a rather sophisticated and very complex transactions. And hopefully we will see some international interest. I mean, from the discussions earlier on, I think it's very clear that Greece is becoming a point of reference on the energy sector, and a point of reference in the southeastern region.
Another very complex issue is the stake, the 17% stake that you still have in your portfolio of the shares of the Public Power Corporation. We all know the problems that the corporation has been facing over the past few years. Have you considered ways, in what ways you can best utilize this stake that you have?
I think it's a bit early. If I may say, the priorities of the fund right now is to try to not only complete tenders which are up and running. Allow me to take the opportunity to also mention that by the end of mid of February, on St. Valentine's Day actually, we're going to be receiving tenders on Alimos Marina. We have concluded most recently the tendering of Chios Marina, and we're about to have the financial closing. Also, we have, as we said, the Hellenic petroleum case, which is extremely demanding. Then we have DEPA. We have a number of land plots, very interesting land plots, both in Crete and also on the north side of Greece, not to mention the regional ports and the marina. So we're pretty much, we have a heavy schedule, at least for the first half. And our intention and efforts is to try to complete as much as we can. Don't forget that we are we're going, this year is a year of a number of elections, so that will inevitably, at some point, will slow down all the approval processes. So it's it's the urgency on our side to try to deliver as much as we can in the first half of this year.
Right. Well, you did mention that this is going to be an election year, which always slows things down. But do you think you'll be able to do something with the underwater natural gas field of South Kavala? According to your to the asset development plan that the fund has put together, this is due to be converted to an underground natural gas storage. Could you tell us when this procedure is due to start, and if you have an idea of when it will be completed, that would be useful as well.
Well, nice to listen that you have this, attention to this specific asset, in the sense that really it's a very challenging and interesting asset. Let me say from the very beginning, it's the only underground storage facility in Greece. It's very important not only because of its proximity, for example, to the Trans-Adriatic pipeline. It's very important because of its size. It has a capacity, if I'm not mistaken, of about 350 million metric cubes. And also, it has, geopolitical speaking and geographical speaking, a very good location, as I said. As we think stands now, and according to the way we have designed our next steps, is to try first to identify the competencies and what kind of infrastructure developments, and to understand better the economics behind that specific asset. It's a rather complicated asset. Let me remind you that there has been some discussions in the past to try to develop this storage facility. Now, at that time, seems that things were not well matured, but this is not the case now. We start receiving good interest. And I think if you consider the asset per se, it's not only because of its location, just on the north, just a few kilometers outside Kavala, but its role, it's going to be very supportive and important in the sense that will not only enhance the security of supply, but most importantly, it would provide stability in prices, because by having that underground storage facility, we can, I mean, as a Hellenic state, we can address issues of imbalances between supply and demand, and therefore keep prices at a more balanced level.
Right.
Coming back, sorry, to the timing structure. The truth is that it's really, sophisticated asset. Our plans is to be able to have a concrete picture by the end of this year, and most probably it will be in the last quarter of this year that we will opening the tender process.
Right, so you still have a lot to do this year. We've already exceeded our time, but I think we can take quickly 1 or 2 questions from the audience. So if any of you are interested in asking Mr. Xenofos a question, then by all means,
or
you're
Mr.
very
Topas.
welcome. Well, I don't see any interest, but I think the discussion has been good for you as well. I would like to thank you for your patience. I think now we will take a break for a light lunch, and we're due to reconvene at 2:45, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.